morning.
Good morning.
You know, there are some days that just unfold in a weird way. Okay? So I'm affirming that today's weirdness is behind me. Okay. So let's settle into where we are. Open our minds and our hearts to this moment, to each other, and to that living presence of truth that's always with us, but sometimes missed. Let's declare this opening statement together. With grateful hearts, we affirm that the Holy One has called us to be together this day, to share the light and the love of the Christ. So we have come together this day at the Unity of Chesterland Church of Christianity, a special spiritual community. Let's declare this statement about our community here. We are Chesterland Unity. We are healing lives and living dreams by deepening connections with God, self, and others. Healing lives and living dreams. Deepening connections. And so that's loving, making deep connections, deep heart connections. With God, self, and all others. Healing lives has been, that's what started Unity. That was a number one mission of Unity. People got together to pray for healing. Sometimes the word healing doesn't have a positive connotation in New Thought circles because it suggests that something's wrong. And we don't want to focus on anything that's wrong. We focus on what's right. But we have to be realistic. We have to be honest. We have to notice that there's something that needs to be done. Besides that, we live in a world that is imperfect. People are imperfect. Governments are imperfect. Heating systems and insulation are imperfect. You know, it's we need to deal with everything. It's a little less than what it might possibly be, including our own lives. We live in a world where things change. Whether we like it or not, we change, and life is temporary. So impermanence is another factor that we need to deal with. That's a central practice within Buddhism, is to meditate on impermanence, that things change, that we are going to change, that things are going to pass away. Boy, talk about negative. But it's being honest. Okay? Because that stuff comes up. It sneaks into our thinking whether we like it or not. We live in a world of imperfection and impermanence and injustice. Things go wrong. And the world isn't finished. So I really believe that creation is still going on. That's why there are so many things that are wrong. So we live in a world of incompletion. Completion is still coming. So some people call that the human condition. And because of the impermanence and the injustice and the imperfection and the incompletion, we don't feel good sometimes. And we need to deal with the feelings and the thoughts and the actions that come up because of the difficulties in life on earth. and dealing with those difficulties, those freedoms and those habits and those attitudes is called healing. So healing is more than a cure. It's not about curing an injury or curing a disease. Healing is a transformation of consciousness. It changes the way we think and the way we act and the way we feel and what we do, how we relate to each other. We're using an interesting little book for a book study, The Shaman's Path to Freedom. It's an indigenous, it's from indigenous spirituality, and it has a lot in common with unity. It's a path for healing this week. The basic assumptions in the Shaman's Path is it's all good. Everything is good. Goodness, the presence of infinite love and wisdom are everywhere. They're in nature, particularly, in people, and that people are basically good. The spiritual work that needs to be done is to clear away the interference, to move away the obstacles to living in that good, to living from the good that's within us. We call that domestication, that as we grow from childhood into adulthood, we're trained. We're kind of pushed into being a certain way, and he calls that domestication. Some other people might call that acculturation or training, that we have expectations about our behavior and way we think, and you should be this and not this and like this and that. And that covers over or obscures that innate goodness. And so freedom is what we need from the stuff that blocks us from the essential goodness within us and in all of creation. Okay, and healing is a process of letting go of a focus on what's wrong, a focus on suffering. Now, unity is real good at not focusing on what's wrong. Sometimes we are too good at focusing on what's good, on not focusing what's wrong. We call that spiritual bypassing, using spirituality to cover up of perception, an awareness of what needs to be done. Some people call that metaphysical malpractice or metaphysiling or spiritual bypassing. We have spiritual principles that we apply to real life situations. We need to notice where they need to be applied. Okay? So, all good. Remove obstacles. And what we need to focus on, the way we get to freedom, is by focusing on our consciousness. Freedom. Found an interesting quote on freedom from Sigmund Freud. People are afraid of it because with freedom comes responsibility. You have to take responsibility for what you do if you're free. If somebody else is telling you what to do, it's like, hey, what kind of responsibility comes from freedom? It's the responsibility to live from the goodness within, to be the Christ, to be a Nagual is the term that he uses in here, a spiritual leader. Everybody is called to live and demonstrate spiritual truth. We have that responsibility to grow and manifest the goodness and to make a difference in the world, to be a healer of the impermanence and the injustice and the incompletion and the impermanence. I forgot one of the ends. To change our consciousness. Typical response to that human condition is, oh my God, what a terrible day I'm having today. Ain't it awful? That's the, ain't it awful is the theme of the news shows every night. Okay? Ain't it awful is the topic of a lot of conversations. Ain't it awful is the topic of a lot of thoughts. Okay? It's ain't it awful is a core of the feeling of suffering. We change the thinking, and we change the content of our thinking. We can change the content of our experience. So, ain't it awful? We have a story that goes with that, right? We all have stories about what went wrong. It's easy to remember them. It's tempting to talk about them, to tell those stories. Sometimes it's really necessary to tell those stories to unpack the energy that's there. Sometimes we're so caught up with the difficulties of injustice and mortality and guilt and shame and resentment and hatred and all of those demons that grab hold of our consciousness, that we try to just cover them up. We could cover them up with an asphalt of affirmations. It's all good. It's all good. Okay? And pretend that it's not there. And as I've said in the past, particularly on Halloween, is when you bury the reality of what's really going on. The ugly things come back to life, and they're angry and make good horror stories. Well, how do we cover them up? Medicators. How about, the usual ones: drugs and alcohol, sex and work, shopping, binge watching Netflix. Well, I was doing that yesterday. It was a good show I finished yesterday. That covers things up, but it doesn't bring a sense of peace. Okay? It takes some work to get beyond the things that numb us to what's going on, to get to, put the next slide on, Jen, to get, we're talking about changing. True healing begins with your thoughts, and your thoughts master your life. How do you change the thinking? Well, go to a therapist. That's helpful. That works. Get into a recovery program. Find people that you can share the truth with, that you can really tell the truth to, instead of saying, yeah, everything's okay or ain't it awful, to really share what's in your heart. We can put on the mind of Christ, which is the basic answer to how do you change your consciousness? How do you change the outer thoughts and actions? Go deep, or go higher, or go wider to to the truth, the spiritual reality, and allow that spiritual reality, allow that positive energy of light, love, and wisdom to affect how you think. Put on the mind of Christ instead of stinking thinking. Here's the next one. One of the healings that Jesus did were to change the consciousness of people. So here's a paralytic that was brought to Jesus by his friends. He was paralyzed. He couldn't do what he wanted to do. He wasn't able to live life appropriately. And Jesus healed him. He probably looked at him and said, "What have you been thinking?" And he'd been thinking guilt and shame must have been what paralyzed this man, because he was healed when Jesus said, "Your sins are forgiven." Nobody's holding it against you. There is only love and goodness. When he got that message, things changed. It might have been holding resentment and blame and hatred for somebody else. And it might have been the words, "Their sins are forgiven," or "you can forgive them," to create a sense of freedom. So we adopt spiritual truth. We adopt practices to deal with the experiences from which we might appreciate a healing, a change in consciousness, because we have all suffered injury. We've all suffered loss. We've all been wronged or one way or another. We've all committed mistakes one way or another. Putting on the mind of Christ. Opening our minds to infinite love and wisdom brings us a sense of serenity. Now you've done it. You have succeeded in dealing with circumstances. It's good to remember how you did that. It's good to hear how some others have done that. Angela's going to share her process of what she went through to bring a sense of serenity sometimes.
As Nat said, no one here is exempt from suffering. My wounds and my hurts aren't worse than anyone else's, and neither are yours. Stop engaging in conversations where you're one-upping with other people about how badly you were wrong. Suffering is not an Olympic sport. You won't get any medals. It's not our job also to judge how badly someone else is hurting. Hurt is hurt. And I'm urging us to pay attention to the stories that we tell ourselves, about ourselves or about other people. So the story of my losses lasted 15 years. I'm going to go through it really fast because I don't want to take up a lot of time. My husband died in 2010, and that triggered our business closure and the sale of our family home in 2011. Our dreamboat sold in 2012. In 2013, 2 Teds died, our licensed Unity teacher and Charlie's best friend, my husband. My therapist, Julia, and my sister Lucille died in 2014. My stepson died of suicide early in 2015. My mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2016. My stepdaughter died. I left a man I dated 4 years, and my sister took my mom to Youngstown, who had lived with me for 11 years. My life was taken apart while I was living in it, and the me that existed before had died. My self-told story goes on. My favorite boss died. Mom broke her hip and then passed away in the facility. People I deeply love continued to leave this plane of existence. Jennifer, Dave, Gerald, Joan, aunts, uncles, cousins. In 2020 and to 24, multiple health challenges required hundreds of doctor appointments, COVID, extreme pain, 4 heart attacks, confounding issues with genetics, and several surgeries. And that about brings us up to the current day. So it's been a very full 15 years. And how did I go through that? A large part of getting through it involved the studies with Unity for licensed Unity teacher certification. It was probably the best and cheapest therapy I've gotten in my whole life, and I've been in therapy often. I suffered deeply, and each new death awakened some old pain. It's been said that suffering sanctifies us and that we learn the most from our most difficult situations. It's a really stupid system. I told myself stories about the woundings I had received, and the stories became my reality. Yet my grief was real. I began to honor it and love it instead of pushing it away. I made an appointment daily to just sit with my grief if I felt that I needed to, and I gave that an hour every day. I also recognized that grief was not my entirety. It wasn't who I was, that I was more, and I began to ask what was mine to do now. I reconsidered most of my ideas about what life might look like. Suffering became my motivation to retrain my focus, and that's usually what happens with a lot of us. Pain sucks, and it triggers transformation, and life is a sacred dance between order and chaos. Sacred dance between order and chaos. I stopped believing my own story, and through a lot of practice, I helped contain my itty-bitty, icky committee. I consciously began to reframe thoughts about people and situations. I flipped my focus. These were the 4 steps. See the icky, own the icky, love the icky, release the icky. I went from taking life personally to embracing uncertainty. You have to see the real before you heal. I could moan, why did this happen to me? Or I could ask, what can I do with what's left? Both outlooks are valid. One generates hope, the other one reduces joy. The stories we tell contribute to our reality. Our reality is relative. While I was free to grieve as I saw fit, I didn't want it to consume my life. And I chose to begin to play with my curiosity about my inner landscape instead of hunkering down with my apathy and climbing into my woe boat. I urge us to be careful of our repetitive internal stories. I was often careless with my word when I was going through this process. When I owned the icky, I took responsibility. I flipped the focus. There's more than one truth. I began to notice the negative content of the stories I told. My story of loss got repeated so often it became my identity. Even though the stories had funny aspects, picking my scabs gave me no joy. Instead of telling others about my pain, disrespecting what had happened, the fullness of what had happened, I honored my wounded self. I listed each loss on a card and posted it on my vision board so that I could prayerfully acknowledge that it was okay to feel sad. I practiced gratitude. I loved the icky. Our energy follows our intention and our attention. I thought of my loved ones as invisible, but still here. I got out of my rowboat and began to more fully appreciate wonderful and varied relationships with quality people who were still here. Maintaining a vision board was really, really helpful to me. I looked for and found joy everywhere: a red cardinal, a child's laugh, easy traffic, or a stray fruit fly. These were the moments I sought, focused on, and cherished. I stopped making assumptions that were negative. I released the icky. I was mindful and not attached. Not taking sides changes the vibration of everything. Not taking sides changes everything. In the past, I often believed that I had all the information necessary to make my choices, only to find that I had missed something really important. So I became skeptical of my great ideas, and I stopped believing every thought I had as being true and valid. I might be right, but what if I'm wrong? Joyce Meyer, the author and minister, believes real freedom is being able to not have my way and still be just as happy as if I did. Thank you for being part of my journey over the last 15 years.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you for being part of our journey today. Yes. Accept that things will never be the same and believe that they'll be better. In other words, think differently. Take control of your thoughts. As I said before, put on the mind of Christ. And there's another phrase from 1 Corinthians. Paul said, I used to see, the way I saw things in the past was cloudy, was obscured, was through a glass darkly. But now we see things face to face. We can see things clearly. So That's what healing is having a consciousness that can embrace everything that is and still feel joy and wonder and gratitude and a sense of ease and grace. That's what healing is. To know the light and the love and the glory of God. To know the light and the love and the glory within. So one of the key practices for healing is meditation. Works better for some than for others, but it's always good to give it a shot. So we're going to do that now. We're going to sing a simple song. We sang it last week. I am as God created me. The light and the love and the glory. We'll sing this many times to create a sense of peace that we can drop into and draw upon. Okay.
I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, and the glory. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me, in the glory of God. I am as God created me, in the glory of God I am as God created me, in the glory of God I am. One more. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory.
Light. That's always there. Love that ever enfolds us. The glory of peace and grace. There's a place of peace in the midst of what anything happens in our lives. It is always there. So let's move to that place of peace now that is always available. A place of ease and grace, a place of light, love, presence, glory. Settle into that place within you now for a few moments and feel it, taste it, smell it. Peace. 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 What issue has been coming up in your life recently? What has been getting your attention, calling for your consciousness? Bring that into this place of peace. It may look different in this holy place within. We can see things more clearly now. Our vision may have been obscured in the past, but from this place of peace, our eyes are opened.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me down. Oh, it's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Oh, it's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Yes, I can make it now, the pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. Oh, it's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue skies. Sing with me. I can see clearly now. I can see clearly now. The rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the clouds that had me down. Oh, it's gonna be a bright, oh, bright, sunshiny day. Oh, it's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Oh, it's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Yes, it is. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.
Amen. 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 This is the time in the service where we have the love offering. And we use that occasion of blessing the gifts for this spiritual community to bless the gifts of our time and talent and treasure that we offer to the world, that we offer to the human condition to make a difference. Because the flow of love blesses and multiplies the good in everything. Let's declare this blessing together. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am grateful and affirm that we are free and unlimited.
I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited. Right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited. Right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited. Right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited. Right now, right now.
Thank you for your support of unity. I dedicate your gifts
To do the work of unconditional love, universal truth, and abundant life in the consciousness of Jesus Christ. So it is. Amen. We have a few copies of the book, The Shaman's Path, back on the counter. There is the Wednesday group meeting today after church? There's a group meeting in the back today that's discussed that Diana's facilitating. The Wednesday group got frozen out this week. And
We're still recovering.
all right. I'm not sure. We can see if anybody gathers around Angela that looks like a discussion group. Okay, so you can still join the book. The books are available. There's another 8 weeks that we're going to be talking about it. The book is about just basic human things like seeing and dreaming and forgiving and planning. So it's worthwhile. You know, it's like, this is, every time I read it, it's like, oh, this is better than I thought it would be. And so it kind of surprises me because there's some power in simplicity and clarity. Any other announcements? We've been getting some additional clicks on our Facebook page. So we've been getting some people disagreeing with us too, but they're looking at us. It's publicity. Okay, so.
Nat, can I address that? So everyone knows, the Facebook page for a long time kind of languished on the sidelines. And now our Facebook page is linked to Geauga County, help me out.
Lake County and Chesterland.
And Chesterland. And so whenever we post on something, they see it on their page. And so we are getting a lot of people who are interested. What's that? I didn't hear about that. And I've turned everything over to Janet, and she's the one who's spearheading this. So what you can all do to help us, your way of gifting, go to Facebook, put a like, or follow the page. Then you'll get the information right in your inbox. You can change settings if you don't want it to come every day. See me in the back.
Good, don't ask me about it.
May I also add,
Judy?
we are now on YouTube also, correct? Or just that one service, that's what I'm
No,
trying to.
okay, so now our Sunday services
'Cause we can
are
do that
posted
too.
on YouTube also,
If we can like it.
and
just right.
on Facebook. So, it's Unity of Chesterland, is the address for both YouTube and Facebook. Okay?
And when you do that, it lifts us in the ratings so that other people will see us more often.
Okay, and you can subscribe to our
Yes.
channel, and that helps also.
Okay.
The algorithm.
Good.
Tech.
Well, I took a slide out. Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum, Dabud Mir. Still need some prayers for the Ukraine. But something good is happening in the Middle East. So give thanks for that. We could give thanks for answered prayer for so many people with so many situations. And so to acknowledge that, we stand and we form a prayer circle. We form a physical connection with each other, representing the heart-to-heart connection that we have with everybody everywhere. Not only around the world, but throughout time. So we connect with people that have passed, people that are coming, people that are alone, people who think that they don't need anybody. We hold their hands, we connect with their hearts. Bring to mind anybody in particular you want to hold this prayer for. You may mention their name. These words are powerful. These words are true. And so, for those reasons, we say these words together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be.